vomiting again and again and again, and somebody knocks on the door and gives you a gulab jamun, do you appreciate it? I'm trying to be a little graphic. What to speak if they give you a whole plate of samosas and sabjis and kichoris and halava. And they say, here, I cooked this just for you. Your reply will be, but if you really appreciate the love that it's given, then even though your reply may be orally the same, in your heart you're really appreciating it. So when we take shelter, when we humble ourselves, then we can deeply appreciate what's given to us. So can you imagine how Rantidev and his family appreciated that plate of prasad? And he was just about to divide it up and eat it and save his life. At that moment, a Brahmin came to his door and said, I'm very hungry. Please give me alms. And Rantidev, before taking anything, he fed the Brahmin to his full satisfaction, as much as the Brahmin could eat. And that Brahmin wasn't fasting 48 days. He probably ate earlier that day. But he was hungry. The Brahmin thanked him. But most of all, Rantidev thanked the Brahmin for giving him the opportunity to serve him. Then the Brahmin left, and Rantidev fed his whole family. They were all fully satisfied. And then he was about to take his share. And a common laborer, a Shudra, appeared at the door and said, oh, I am so hungry. Please, O king, give me some food. Rantidev fed that very common person right off the streets to his full satisfaction. And then Rantidev offered his respect and his obeisances to that common man. He was a king. He sat down to eat whatever little remained. And then another man came to the door, kind of all dressed really dirty and shabby and unkempt. He probably didn't smell all that good. And he had a pack of dogs with him. And he said, oh, king, I'm really hungry, and all my dogs are hungry. Please feed us. Now, those dogs were real hungry. He fed the man and the dogs. And they ate every morsel, every crumb of food that was left. There was nothing. And Rantidev was trembling with fatigue and hunger, on the verge of death. And all that was left to sustain his life was 1 cup of water. With a grateful heart, he was about to drink that water when a Chandala, a man who was not of high, not at all of high character. The type of person, like a street urchin, that people just dismiss, walk away from, disregard. He came to the door. A person who was a total social outcast. And he said, "O king, I'm dying of thirst. Please give me some water." At that point, Rantidev folded his palms and offered a prayer. A prayer to Krishna, to God. He prayed, "O my dear Lord, O Supreme Godhead, I do not pray to you to be given all the 8 mystic perfections. I do not even want from you liberation from material suffering, mukti. I only have one prayer. Let me remain among living beings in this world who are suffering. And let me make sacrifice and take pain to relieve them of their suffering. This is the only thing I pray for." In giving this Chandala my water, which meant his life, I will forever be free from hunger, thirst, from moroseness, from lamentation, and from illusion. Then he gave the water to that man, who drank it and walked away. And Rantidev offered his respect and his obeisances to the person who just took everything he had away from him. Srila Prabhupada explains here, and Shukadev Goswami very much emphasizes it, that Ranti's nature is it wasn't an artificial thing. He was empowered to have such a degree of compassion because he was actually seeing that every living being was a part of God. Vidyavanaya sampane brahmanika bihastini suni chaiva swapakecha pandita samadarshana. A humble and gentle sage sees everyone with equal vision. He doesn't see that everyone is God, but he sees that everyone is a part of God. Everyone is a child of God. Everyone is loved by God. Everyone, in serving them, I could actually do service to the Lord. That is compassion at its deepest and truest state. When one actually sincerely prays to be an instrument of grace, when one actually prays to be a puppet to dance according to Krishna's will, the one is given this vision. Whether one is a Brahmin or a criminal or an elephant or a cow or a dog or one who eats dogs, beyond all of these temporary designations of people's mentalities and people's physical forms is the soul, the living force who was part of Krishna, who is divine. And when we have this vision, then it becomes the greatest pleasure to serve, to be an instrument. Rantidev's prayer, I don't want liberation, mystic cities. I just want to help others in this way. It was just an outpouring of his love. It wasn't even an austerity for him. It was a joy for him. We cited Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer. This story is very much a personification of that spirit. And at that point, all the people that came and took all his food and water came back. And they all transformed into demigods. Brahma, Shiva, and others. And they told Rantidev, we came here just to show the world your greatness. Now, he didn't know that. We came here just to show the world the standard of compassion, the standard of love for God. Now, what you have done is so exalted. You were willing to give your life for the welfare of others. We want to offer you any benediction you like. And Rantidev just fixed his mind on Lord Vishnu, on the Supreme Lord. Fixed his mind in remembering Krishna. He didn't want anything else. He could have asked, give me some of that food back. He didn't ask for anything. He just asked for service to Krishna by serving others. Rantidev lived. He was nourished. He was given nice prasad. And he took it to energize his body to serve. And Srila Prabhupada writes, because of his qualification of taking shelter so sincerely, Krishna gave him the highest responsibilities. And practically everyone in his kingdom became a pure devotee. Not because of his right and his might and his power to rule, or because of his legislatures, or because of his systematic logical ways of managing the government. Everyone in the kingdom became pure devotees because of his example of simple, selfless devotion and compassion. And this is something very consistent. The scriptures use examples of kings, but whether we're the leader of a family or the leader of a business or the leader of a spiritual gathering, whatever it may be, we're all meant to try to be leaders in however we live, whatever our position may be. When we read about Yudhisthira Maharaj or Ramchandra or Rantidev, these great kings who made their whole kingdom so Krishna conscious. Yes, they were very systematic. They had good armies, they had good legislature, they had good management. But that's never what the scriptures focus primarily on. What was the quality of Ram? What was the quality of Yudhisthira? What was the quality of Rantidev that made their whole kingdom naturally love God and united? In all cases, it was their compassion. It was their personal willingness to make sacrifices for the welfare of others. And how they took shelter. Raja Vidya Rajakuyam Pavitramita Murtamam. This is the greatest of all secrets. Yes, Srila Prabhupada came to America. Krishna staged it so wonderfully. He came with no money, no beneficiaries, no help, no place to stay, nothing. And he was 70 years old. He was very physically ill. He came off 38 days of a cargo ship. But he inspired people like Yamuna Devi, Shamsundar Prabhu, Malati Devi. Inspire these people, Giriraj Maharaj, to come to foreign lands. Shamsundar Prabhu's father was a very, very successful attorney. Giriraj Maharaj's father was also a very successful attorney who became a judge, very wealthy, with big properties. What was it that inspired these people to such pure, unalloyed devotion? It wasn't just management or systems. Those things have to be there. Srila Prabhupada told Giriraj Maharaj, we need good management. But management is just part of a structure. But a structure does not stand alone. It needs a foundation. The foundation that everything was standing on in these devotees' sacrifice was Prabhupada's example of compassion. They saw he was Rantidev personified right before their eyes. And feeling that love, that concern, made them pure, made them united, and empowered them to do incredible things. In other words, only one who sincerely, with all humility, takes shelter can actually give shelter. Real shelter is the grace of Krishna and Sri Radha. One who earnestly takes shelter can give shelter. If we don't humbly, deeply take shelter, then whatever shelter we have to offer others, it's a material shelter. It has very little substance, very little longevity, and it can't take anyone, it can't help anyone to actually go beyond the modes of nature. Rantidev wanted to give shelter to everyone. And how did he do that? By completely taking shelter himself. That is the truest leadership. And actually, this type of true leadership is the responsibility of each and every one of us. In our own ways, to strive for this. Not simply that somebody else should do this and I'll follow. Real following means taking shelter, as this person is taking shelter. Following Srila Prabhupada means following his instructions, but it also means following his footsteps. Taking shelter in the footsteps the way Prabhupada took shelter of that divine grace, and being empowered to be an instrument of his mercy with all humility and sincerity. In this spirit, we can be truly united as we strive together to fill the world with the supreme grace of Krishna, who has appeared in the holy names. I wasn't expecting to speak this subject today, but Shyam Sundar Prabhu caught me very off guard with his very eloquent presentation. Thank you very much. And we have many wonderful guests here who are Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Narasimhananda Prabhu, Madhusudan Prabhu, Kanchanabala Devi Prabhu, their daughter Chintamani, Her Grace Bahismati Devi Mataji from Philadelphia. Nobody knows you yet. Please stand up. Everyone, please welcome her. And Her Grace Kir Chor Devi from Toronto. Please stand up. Very loudly, please. And my very dear god sister, who I've known since 1972 or 3. Her Grace Mahamaya Devi Prabhu, please stand up. And Her Grace Chitrarata Devi from Switzerland. Everyone, please welcome her. And Her Grace Nartaki Devi, of course, she is our patron goddess. And we have many special guests, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying everyone's name, but this special guest is very special to me. Her name is Suzanne, and she is the sister of one of my very dearest, most worshipable god sisters, Rukmini Devi Prabhu, and the aunt of our favorite kirtan singer, Gaurvani Prabhu. Much louder, please. And she's in the medical field, and she's come to do seva at Bhaktivedanta Hospital. And of course, to all the others, I think we've already greeted them. Madhusudan, Kanchanabala, and Narasimhananda Prabhu, please stand up, Chintamani, and let us welcome them again very loudly. Bahismati, Kirchor, Suzanne, would you like to say something? You can pass the microphone. just a couple minutes, because there's not so much time.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. I'm just wanting to say thank you to all the beautiful devotees here in Mumbai who have filled my heart with love. I've just experienced so much love since I've arrived here, and I want to thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I also have experienced so much love here, and it is very humbling to see so many wonderful devotees. The level of devotion and kindness amongst the devotees here has enlivened me so much, and I just feel blessed to be in your association. Thank you so much. Haribol.
I wanted to say that my sister came to India over 40 years ago. And when she returned to the States, you are right, she was the color of either yellow or blue was her skin color. She was so sick when she was in India, but she was so full of devotion. And I think I've been running away from Krishna's love for about 40 years. And I perhaps am your newest devotee because I just bought my very own pair of japa beads yesterday and used them for the first time this morning. So thank you so much for the love that you share with all of us. Thank you all.
Could I speak something?
Thank you so much. I have to say the same thing. I'm so ingratiated being here. It's very humbling for me. And I'm so inspired by all your devotion. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
You say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna. I'm just so happy to be here. This is my third visit to Chopadi Temple, and it's certainly not my last. I plan on coming here every time I come to India, which is once a year. When I just arrived in India, and I'll stop here again on my way leaving India. This is my new home, if you'll accept me as a member of this community. I, just like everybody else is expressing, the love among the devotees is just phenomenal. All over the world, people know about this temple, and it's a very exemplary temple, and somehow, if all the temples in ISKCON could be like this one, it seems like there would be no problems. So thank you. Hare Krishna.
I wanted to also express my appreciation for Maharaj having so much love for his god sisters and god brothers. And because I'm living here, I'm also the beneficiary, because he draws all the devotees from overseas, not just god brothers or god sisters, but all other wonderful Vaishnavas that I have not seen before, but who are each like jewels. He draws them here, and all together we go on wonderful yatras and experience something like the spiritual world here in the material world by having Krishna and his Leela so present in his descriptions, and all the devotees, they're completely captured to hear Katha of our beloved Lord Sri Krishna, and Srimati Radharani, Sisi Gaurnitai, and Srinastri, it means Krishna is a small child also, and all the devotees having one center, and that is, it's like being in the spiritual world here in the material world, so I'm feeling it's just a step away. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
When I heard about these wonderful places, because it's my first time here, I was ready to be in a kind of monastery for brahmacharis, and it is. I know it is more for brahmacharis, but I could never expect to have such kindness and respect and wonderful behavior towards women. I'm so grateful for that too. And everything is so perfect that when I arrived first time to the reception room, I had to wait for something, and I saw there was a suggestion box, a box for suggestions. And normally I'm very fighter, but there I thought I have nothing to suggest because everything is so nice.
I have to continue with Mother Narataki's idea of this place being like a spiritual world. Actually, I was feeling the same thing, that it is really like the spiritual world. And a lot of it comes from Maharaj's his example of appreciating devotees. And it's carried out through all the other devotees, just appreciating one another. Of course, I've been a great recipient of it since I've been here. But just the other day, Maharaj gave this lecture about the importance of gratitude. And I just want to say that he is a living example of this. About 2 or 3 years ago, when I met him for the first time personally, I was introduced by our god sister Kanka Mataji, and she introduced my wife and myself as being very old devotees that we joined in 1967, and Maharaj immediately bowed his head and said, "Oh, we owe you a great debt of gratitude." So he doesn't just speak these things. See, he was already practicing this 2 or 3 years ago, and now speaking about it the other day. So he was practicing these things. And it was very encouraging to me because I've never been a devotee in the forefront. I've done some little service. And generally, many devotees, leaders, have to say, don't give me much attention, occasionally, but not the kind of encouragement of just being appreciated for whatever little bit I did. Doesn't have to be any big fanfare, just appreciation, just honest appreciation for whatever little bit I did. So I appreciate that. It was very encouraging. Thank you, Maharaj.
I'd like to end by giving my appreciation for those beautiful dramas that were performed last week. Each one was so very, very special in its own unique way. Sometimes it was stabbing and killing and raping. And and other times there was beautiful humility and begging and shelter, and chanting, forgiveness. But one that very deeply struck my heart was the story of our god sister Ladini Devi, because I knew her very closely since 1972. And knowing her all those years, and we did many different types of services in harmony with one another, I can say this. That last scene where she gave her life willingly, in one sense, it was devastating to the heart to lose a god sister like that. But in another sense, there's no question. For her, it was an honor. I know her very well, and I'm sure that when she stood in front of those bullets, in her heart, she was unlimitedly grateful and honored for the auspicious opportunity to give her life to serve others. She did not think, she knew she would die, there was no question. She didn't think she was going to lose her life. She knew for sure, with 100% total faith, that she was going to gain eternal life with Krishna, with Srila Prabhupada. She took shelter, and she was grateful. So when we read about Rantidev, and we think long ago there were people like this, but in that drama of Ladini, which is a true story, which just happened a couple decades ago, we saw the living embodiment of Rantidev, of taking shelter and praying for the opportunity to give one's life to be an instrument of Krishna's grace for others. And how they connected the story of Jatayu to Ladini was so perfect. Because in the story of Jatayu, who knew he would die, but rather than just sit back and let Sita be abducted, he came forward and gave his life. And in Ramayana, Lord Ram put his head, Jatayu's head on Ram's lap and wept tears and said, "Today I send you to my eternal abode, to be my eternal associate." So we could know on that day that Srila Prabhupada and Radha Gopinath had Ladini's head on their lap to send her back to the spiritual world. Not because just what she did, but the spirit of being unlimitedly grateful and honored to be an instrument of grace to help others. And that's why she could be so blissful when she raised her arms to cry out the holy names.